Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in to my super chat. Thank you, first and foremost, thank you to D-Lynn. I know D-Lynn, so kind, even before the live stream. And there was another person on the super chat, Eric H526, if you could let me know so I could thank that person. But thank you to my super chat. For some reason, on my end, I can't see who had given the super chat. So thank you, first and foremost, Eric H526, Luke St. Martin. Thank you very much for being the best moderators in all of YouTube. We're going to start this off with a really wonderful open letter to Connecticut U.S. Attorney John Durham. It's from a really fantastic, just a great publication called justsecurity.org. They focus on national security, I'd say, from a liberal perspective, from a smart power, liberal, Democratic Party perspective. They're really great. They're awesome. I have only good things to say about them, and this is in response to the Durham probe, and we'll start this off. This segment is NBC News. Based on the following article, Trump administration's probe of the Russia investigation may be nearing conclusion. And it goes on to talk about Attorney General William Barr told Congress last month that he would not wait until the election to present Durham's findings if they are finalized. Barr has made clear that he believes President Obama's administration officials acted wrongly when they opened a counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign's dealings with Russia. But the Justice Department's Inspector General found that the investigation was justified and untainted by political bias. The Inspector General did not have all the information. That's why the Inspector General, initially with the Clinton email investigation, said there was no political bias because the prosecutors, he said there was no prosecutorial bias. The prosecutors were not given information on how numerous people were able to help Madam Secretary transfer top secret and special access program intelligence on servers outside of the United States government. That's impossible. You cannot do that. So they never asked those questions. The FBI prosecutors were never given answers to those questions, probably never even inquired or asked or bothered enough to even find out how classified data was migrated or transferred or given to Team Clinton or emailed onto those servers. It's not possible from a cybersecurity perspective. But anyway, then there was the text messages like "We'll stop it, we'll stop Trump." The Inspector General wasn't given that text message. He wasn't given a great many, probably most of the text messages between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Kleinsmith. He wasn't given information on the errors and the deliberately falsified information within the FISA warrants. He wasn't given information about any of these things. So the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, was literally not given all the information that you need. Authority, PHUCK Authority, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I didn't see that. Thank you very, very much. And to my super chat, thank you. PHUCK Authority, one of the great names in this channel's history. Thank you very, very much. So let's just really get into this really wonderful open letter. Oh my goodness, it's so wonderful, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. So you read this open letter to John Durham published in Just Security. This is the heart and soul of the Democratic and Republican national security viewpoint. It's the heart and soul of how they view national security. So national security is now linked directly to the electoral college chances of Democrats. Election interference is now a national security issue. Okay, even though the DNC is a private entity, and whether or not Democrats win or lose is completely irrelevant to the lives of American citizens. The narcissism and the hubris and the arrogance that Democrats have state that, well, if we lose, then people suffer. That's not the case. We had record low unemployment before the pandemic, and the pandemic is not President Trump's fault. He's not a governor or a mayor. He has a very limited scope of what he can do within states. So let's just read this. This is really, really important, and you can share this segment with anyone who doesn't understand. Hello, Carol. Carol from India. Thank you, Indiana. From Indiana. Great state of Indiana. Hoosiers. Thank you, Carol. Okay, so Dear Attorney General John Durham. Dear U.S. Attorney Durham, on May 13th, 2019, Attorney General William Barr appointed you to review the origins of the 2016 Justice Department investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Which Facebook ads interfered in the election? Which Facebook ads interfered in Wisconsin to give Wisconsin to Trump? Which Facebook and Twitter bots interfered in Michigan to give Michigan to Trump? Which social media advertising or bots or profiles gave Pennsylvania to Trump away from Clinton? I want to know. If you cannot answer that, you cannot say the Russians interfered in the election. I want to know exactly why Russia would fear Democrats when President Obama did not veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity. Okay, I want to know how finding out that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, if you say a derogatory word about Deborah Wasserman, you'll have me to contend with. I know that Bernie Sanders loves DWS, and rightfully so. She's done so much good. But I want to know how the United States of America, learning that Democrats cheated their own candidate, has interfered in any way in the election. How many Bernie bros were there? I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet. I was the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. I want to know how many people didn't vote for Clinton because they cheated Bernie Sanders. I want to know also how Bernie Sanders and Jill Stein and Tulsi Gabbard and Trump fit into the overall Russian plot, because anyone that Democrats don't like happened to be linked to Putin. At a certain point, you have to call it childish. I mean, you have to be a real imbecile to believe that Russia purchased Facebook ads to swing voters in Wisconsin because they were so prescient. They were able to look into the future and find out that Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin hadn't voted for Republicans in presidential elections since the 1980s, but they were so devious that they targeted Facebook ads specifically to the impressionable and gullible Wisconsin voters and Michigan voters and Pennsylvania voters, not to mention the Florida and Ohio voters. And the only people like Virginia voters and Nevada voters and swing states that went to Clinton, they're the ones who weren't influenced by this overall Russian campaign. At some point, this review turned into a criminal investigation of the Justice Department's investigation into Russia's efforts to undermine our democracy. Wrong. As Trump would say, wrong. The Democratic Party is not our democracy. It has nothing to do with our democracy. Our democracy is the Electoral College and the Constitution. If the Supreme Court strikes Trump down or supports President Trump, we have a system of federal courts, state, federal, and the Supreme Court, the judicial branch of this country. Our democracy is predicated upon our Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It has nothing to do with the DNC or the DNC's chances in an election. Nothing. The rule of law has nothing to do with the DNC. And and our democracy has absolutely nothing to do with our democracy has nothing to do with the Democratic Party. Mike Cavallero! President Trump indicated he won't be seen for a while. Sounds ominous. Yet Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch says we will be disappointed. Mike, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of that. I have no idea what to make of that, other than the fact that he does have enemies that are very wealthy and very powerful. So I don't know what to make of that. Let me see. Tom Fitton. Let's look at Tom Fitton. Let's tweet out what Tom Fitton. So Tom Fitton, or let's look at. Then you have this. There's so much going on. I mean, Hillary Clinton's going to be nominee. She's going to be opposite President Trump, and everything that's happening is leading to that. But here, let me find out, because that is interesting. Mike Cavallero, that is interesting. Leo Zabo, hello, Leo. I don't know if he's referring to. I don't exactly know what President Trump is referring to. I'll have to do a little bit more, because I actually didn't hear about that until right this second. So let's just see here. He said something similar. If I lose, I don't think you'll ever see me again. April 24, 2016. God bless President Trump. I think that, I'm reading this open letter to John Durham, but it correlates to exactly that. Mike Cavallero, I'm going to try to look that up or do some more investigating on that, because I don't really, it's the first time I've heard that quote. And let's see, Trump won't be hearing from me. So that is interesting. Anyway, so let's continue. Mike Cavallero, thank you. Oh, okay. Headship 1. He was referring to the Trump. Okay. So, the need for your appointment was hard to understand at the time it was made, since the Justice Department's independent Inspector General was already conducting a similar investigation that began in March 2018 into the same issues. Yeah, but the Justice Department Inspector General has no ability to indict anybody. And no ability, and it's not certain that the Justice Department, and we know the Justice Department Inspector General doesn't have all the information. For example, Sally Yates made a lot of absurd claims. They didn't know, people didn't know who purchased the Steele dossier. They all knew who purchased the Steele dossier. It was Clinton. So, and that's another issue. You can't start a counterintelligence investigation on a political rival, Pete Solano. Maybe indictments are going to be unsealed, HA. I don't know. I don't think any indictments are sealed. Pete, thank you so very much as always. I don't think any indictments are sealed, but I do think that eventually, when President Trump wins again, because there has to be a political will, number one, and number two, there has to be some media support. Media will turn on Democrats when they lose again. They're going to lose again with Clinton. Clinton is the only chance they have. I mean, they could possibly win with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is the best candidate Democrats have, 1,000,000 times better than Biden. Biden would lose miserably to Trump. He wouldn't even get the popular vote, and they know this. They know at the end of the day, the smartest people within the Democratic Party, all one or two of them, know that the polls and the media coverage of Biden, it's all public relations based upon how much they despise Trump. So it's all based upon how much they despise Trump. They look at life through this relative, everything is relative. And it's all based on how much they despise President Trump, which makes Biden a viable candidate, even though he's objectively not. You're talking about a person who looks and acts like an exhumed body. Pete Solano, thank you. So I believe indictments are going to take place in the second term of Trump's campaign. Flying Fox Fruits, all political graft is possible with HRC. Yet possible with every politician, especially the Clintons. Flying Fox Fruits, thank you as always. Stony Stone! You can't make this this up news. HA, I'm so glad you have been wakening up people forever. Keep up the great work, brother. You got your 6. God bless you and everyone, sir. God bless you, Stony Stone. You can't make this up. News, thank you. And thank you for the kind words. And greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Stony Stone. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the kind words greatly. So, the need for... Thank you, Stony Stone. Thank you again. The need for your appointment was hard to understand at the time it was made, since the Justice Department's Inspector General was already conducting a similar investigation that began March 2018 into the same issues. On December 9, 2019, the Inspector General issued his report and concluded that the 2016 Russia investigation had a legitimate purpose and there was no evidence of political bias against President Trump in how the investigation had been initiated or undertaken. The anti-Trump text messages from Kevin Kleinsmith, like scores of anti-Trump text messages from Peter Strzok and Kevin Kleinsmith, and other FBI agents prove the bias. If the shoe were on the other foot, they would say, oh my God, you had an FBI agent cover up an investigation into Trump, and as he was doing that, he said, we'll stop Clinton? And they utilized a dossier purchased by Trump to investigate Clinton? And you had a Republican administration and their intelligence community looking into a Democratic candidate based on a dossier that was purchased by Clinton's direct political rival? This is exactly what took place. And then an official was set up and framed by an ambassador that had ties to Trump's foundation? Just reverse exactly. Alexander Downer has ties to the Clinton Foundation. The FBI used a conversation that he had with George Papadopoulos to help start an investigation. They had no clue if the conversation... Well, I mean, apparently the conversation was taped, so they already knew that Papadopoulos didn't work with Russia or Mifsud or whatever. The whole thing was it's so easy to decipher how much of a setup this is. Like, between the setting up and framing of Trump and between the farce of a candidacy and a campaign in Biden, Democrats will literally believe anything, as long as media pumps it up and hypes it up. Media hasn't been right. Tell me when, from Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld's wonderful intelligence reports that began never-ending conflict and counterinsurgency quagmires and failed foreign policy and failed military endeavors that unfortunately the courageous and brave and noble men and women of the United States military had to implement. So we sent Americans to never-ending conflict, and we're still doing so. And President Trump, the main reason I'm voting for him, along with other reasons, is because he's reversing U.S. foreign policy. But 20 years of our foreign policy was predicated on failed intelligence reports that media pumped up. And then you have some more failed intelligence reports that media have pumped up, stating that Russia tried to interfere in the election because of Facebook ads. I want to know which Facebook ad swung which voters. So it's like they can't back up their absurd statements. It's never like, ask yourself, when has media been right? When have they been right about something they've obsessed over? Bush's foreign policy? No. Were they right about Libya and President Obama? No. Were they right about Clinton winning in a landslide? No. Were they right about the Steele dossier? Were they right about the Mueller probe? Were they right about impeachment? No. Are they right about Trump losing? No. He's going to win in 2020. And so tell me what they're right about. I want to know what they've been right about. Christopher! Hey, Arizona, you ain't safe if you don't vote for me, Joe Biden. The great city of Arizona. So exactly, Christopher, thank you very, very, very much. Let's look at that really quickly. Thank you, Christopher. Biden is right now, really quickly on a side note, Biden has always tried to do the following. Biden's campaign can be summed up in the following manner. He has to be just good enough to be seen as viable, which means, God bless him, he needs to be breathing, wearing clothing, and saying something. It doesn't really matter what he says. We've seen that yesterday and then with the Charlemagne the God interview. It doesn't matter what he says. But he needs to be alive, God bless him, breathing. And as long as that happens, he's not only viable, the polls will say that he's above, he'll easily defeat Bernie Sanders, which he did. And then, he'll defeat President Trump. All they need is to look at somebody and say, okay, we have somebody to oppose President Trump. And then for people who have a brain cell still working in their mind, he has to be just horrific and horrible enough and absurd enough and ludicrous enough for people to kind of look at it and say, yeah, this doesn't work. So we have to replace this man. Because if we don't, we're going to lose to President Trump. And then you'll have not only the Durham probe, but then you'll have a situation where even media will turn on Democrats. Media is not going to always give Democrats the same coverage, because it wasn't the case. That wasn't the case during the Bush administration. Media slithered. They all slithered towards Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. Then they slithered towards the Democratic Party when Bush lost. And then when Clinton began her campaign for the rightful nomination and presidency in 2016. So they're not going, like, you cannot continually lose. This is not feasible. Okay, you can't continually look at the scoreboard and say, scoreboard, when you're losing. I did. Angela Goodwin, I did. Did you look up a sing? I did, but it was during the live stream yesterday. Angela Goodwin, thank you. First, last. Hello. Christopher, thank you. Stony Stone, you can't make this up. My wife's buddy got 5 mail-in ballots today. Oh my God. Old school dad, man. HA starting to believe plugs. Oh, the hair plugs, nice. The Botox is working too. I'm starting to believe Plugs is throwing this on purpose. How many times can he? Apparently, he can insult millions upon millions of voters, and Democrats will just sweep it under the rug. Old school dad, man. Thank you. It's pretty unbelievable. I'm telling you something. If they found a crocodile or an alligator and put a top hat on the crocodile or alligator, if they found an alligator or crocodile and put the top hat and a big giant bow tie and said, this is a crocodile, this giant reptile is going up against Trump. As you can see from the latest Monmouth University poll, he's winning Ohio. He's doing better nationally than Trump. Vote for this reptile. And Democrats would be like, oh my God, we're just going to win again. It's amazing. And I think they think that they won. That's why I love sports. You have a winner and a loser. You cannot leave the stadium. When after a football game, you can't leave the stadium. If it says 55-0 and your team got 0, you haven't won. You've lost. But Democrats, they have their vision. See, they despise Trump, so they actually see, what was that, 56-55? Oh, we won by 1 point. Chad Swans! We are all paying attention. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Chad Swans, as always. Thank you. We're all paying attention. Thank you, Chad Swans. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. And so, we all have to pay attention because so this is the Sun today. Why am I enamored with this? So Trump bizarrely suggests he may not be seen for a while because he has rich enemies who are very unhappy with him. So, but I figure we have one chance to do it, and no other president's going to do what I do. Trump was also slammed on social media for opening the event with Guns N' Roses. The president's tone-deaf entrance. Oh my God! Then he can't do anything. So they don't like the Guns N' Roses song because of the pandemic. I mean, what do you want him? What if he came in like Hotel California? Oh, you want people to go to hotels? You want people to get the pandemic in hotels now? Is that it? No Hotel California. Okay. What else? Suspicious Minds from Elvis. Oh, you think we're all suspicious, huh? You think the Russia investigation was predicated just on false suspicion? What else? There's no, what song could he, what song could this man, he can't do anything. They're just obsessed with him. The White House is playing. This is unbelievable. A journalist. The White House is playing this song before Trump's arrival. And people have passed away from COVID-19. Yeah, people have lost their lives from drunk driving. Tens of thousands of Americans over the years have lost their lives from drunk driving, from cigarettes, from alcohol, from prescription drugs. Do you want? He's playing. Janis Joplin, and you know what happened to Janis Joplin? He's trying to make fun of her. It's like they cannot ever live. Their lives are dependent upon what Trump does. And then when Biden literally makes the most absurd remarks, well, he didn't mean that. Well, he just didn't mean that. My God, it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable how, like, and this is the thing, when he wins again, the meltdown is going to be really, really great. You have to also ask yourself, well, will there be a moment where will there be a moment where Democrats realize that they've been on the wrong side of history? Because they're going to lose again. The media has consistently been wrong about the biggest, most monumental political calls. The analysis of the mainstream media has consistently been wrong, unless it's like a sure thing. Unless it's just like a sure thing based on historical, based on like a historical trend. It's like a sure thing. Then they're right. But other than that, I mean, you can go look at the past 5 years. Clinton did not win Texas. She did not win Arizona or North Carolina. I stated in 2015, NPR quoted me, and I said Clinton would lose swing states. I'm telling you, it's going to be Trump versus Clinton again. She'll lose again. She could win if he makes any big mistakes, but otherwise, she's the best candidate they have, which should tell you something about the Democratic Party. But they weren't right about anything, from Russian interference to Facebook ads to anything. They're not right about anything. Golden Moo Moo! Golden Moo Moo, thank you. The Golden Moo Moo. That's what I love, the Golden Moo Moo. But let's continue. Golden Moo Moo, thank you. So, on December 9th, 2019, the Inspector General issued his report and concluded that the 2016 investigation had a legitimate purpose and there was no evidence of political bias against President Trump in how the investigation had been initiated or undertaken. The FISA applications and warrants were riddled with deliberately falsified information, omissions. The Steele dossier was literally purchased by Clinton and the DNC. Alexander Downer, the Australian diplomat, has direct ties to the Clinton Foundation. John Brennan is on MSNBC and CNN, as is Clapper on MSNBC and CNN, and James Comey is being published in the New York Times and the Washington Post, and there are GoFundMes run by Democrats for Andrew McCabe, and Peter Strzok is, one Democrat said he deserves the Medal of Honor, or the Purple Heart. I mean, they've completely lost it. It's so obvious. You have anti-Trump text messages. You literally have a text message from the lead investigator saying, "We will stop Trump. Trump voters are smelly. Trump's a menace. Trump needs to lose to Clinton 1,000,000-0." I mean, there's nothing you can do there's nothing you can do to convince them of reality. I will admit, as a Trump supporter, President Trump says things that are not diplomatic, that I wouldn't say, that I would advise him not to say. But they won't admit that he was set up and framed. Even when Mueller says we can't find any evidence that anyone conspired with Russia, and 8 Russian intelligence officers were indicted based on Company One. CrowdStrike also was literally outsourced by the Democratic Party, and when confronted, the CrowdStrike CEO says there's no evidence. We didn't have any concrete evidence, but now here, we are now in the closing stages of the 2020 presidential campaign. Well, that's where also he's wrong. We haven't even really started the 2020 presidential campaign. This is, we're in purgatory right now. So, Mark! What happens if Hillary indicted president-elect? I don't think that would happen. Wouldn't that be icing on the cake, especially on the night of election? I don't think they would. I think indictments will take place, especially for people who tried to set up and frame Trump after Trump's re-election mark, because like I've always said, there needs to be media, there needs to be political will, and there needs to be favorable media coverage. There has to be some favorable media coverage, and that's going to happen when President Trump wins again. Media can't always stay on the losing side because the credibility and legitimacy of Democrats and media is dependent upon Trump being a one-term president. If he's a two-term president, which he will be, when he becomes a two-term president, they won't have any legitimacy. They won't have any credibility. So, Mark, thank you. Florida Man Bear! Can't wait for the sorcerer's departed too. Durham strikes again. Oh, Scorsese's departed too. You know what? Unfortunately, John Durham, of all people, because the FBI agents in Boston, he took them down in Boston. It was really bad. And John Durham knew exactly how. See, in the, what was his name? Connolly. John Connolly in Boston, the FBI agent that Durham put into the big house, the slammer. John Connolly didn't write notes saying, right now I am going to work with criminals and make sure that they're tipped off and give them information, and this way I'll do so under the guise of an FBI investigation while at the same time enriching myself and benefiting in numerous ways because I'm helping criminals get away with crimes. He did not write that letter, just like people don't write letters. If you give money to my foundation, I'll give you weapons deals. If you give money to my foundation, I will hook you up with this or that. Durham engaged in that investigation and knew exactly how people within government agencies try to circumvent and manipulate the law to their favor. Florida Man Bear, thank you. Bucolic Buffalo! What's up with Trump's ominous statement about not seeing him? I don't know. I actually, for some reason, didn't. This evening is the first time I heard about it, and it's like, of course, the news doesn't cover it, and so, I have to do a little bit more. I'll probably do a segment on that after this. I really don't know on H.A. Goodman's other channel. I really don't know what to make of it. Bucolic Buffalo. I read a little bit. There's an article in the Sun. Trump bizarrely suggests he may not be seen for a while because his rich enemies were very unhappy with him. So, God bless President Trump. God bless him. God bless him. He has very likely a lot more courage than any of the people who tried to set him up. Bucolic Buffalo, thank you. Thank you. Pete Solano. There's a new video of Biden being interviewed. What a train wreck, because he said was, come on, man, you know the deal through the whole interview. Come on, man. Come on, man. There's no way there's no way the Democrats send this man out to debate Trump. There's no way. And this whole thing has been the biggest charade of all time. It'll be Hillary Clinton versus Trump during the debates, the most widely viewed debates of all time. And Clinton will do all right, I'm telling you. Don't underestimate Madam Secretary. I'm telling you, don't underestimate. He'll defeat Clinton, but it could be very, very close. Pete Solano, thank you. Thor Gustafsson! The Democrats are using the nation based on Munchausen by proxy. You know, Thor Gustafsson, thank you. I haven't heard that phrase in a while. Pete Solano, Thor, thank you. Pete Solano, there was a new video. Yeah, that whole thing, it's... I mean, you know the deal, man. I mean, see, what more does he have to do to show the world? What more does he have to do to show the world? Oh, wow, Munchausen, that's right. Ay, ay, ay. Caregiver makes up or causes an illness injury. Oh, my God. That is just... That's vicious. The golden Moo Moo, I can't wait to be dominant. Well, but you know, the only person who could stand up to President Trump, Mark, that's true. Mark Kinnefelter, that's true. The only person who could stand up to President Trump is Clinton, because Biden would get eaten alive, literally. The golden Moo Moo! Thank you, Mr. Falcon Lamb! Did you receive the Alien Mayor's blessing for his stream? And where's... Well, luckily, nobody is near me, and I follow protocol at all times. Mr. Falcon Lamb, thank you. Yeah, I don't see how Democrats can get away with... I don't see how Democrats benefit long-term from this. Politically long-term is horrendous. But thank you, Mr. Falconland. Thank you. So, long-standing department policies. So let's continue. Long-standing department policies issued by the past 3 attorney generals who served during an election year make plain that department action should not be taken in an election year that could influence or affect an election. Then why is the Southern District of New York investigating Trump's taxes 3 months before the election? I'll ask it again. If investigations mean interference in elections, why is the Southern District of New York looking into Trump's taxes right before the election? Why? Or I should say Deutsche Bank and his finances. He's never been accused. Before becoming a politician, he was never accused of criminal wrongdoing. He went bankrupt. Okay, business people go bankrupt all the time, and then they start their businesses again. You can do that. So what? He still has, billions of dollars. So what? George J. Terwilliger III, who served as Deputy Attorney General under Attorney General William Barr in the administration of President George W. Bush, said in 2016, quote, "There's a long-standing policy of not doing anything that could influence an election. Then why did Attorney General Loretta Lynch meet with Bill Clinton to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren without anyone being able to see a transcript? Could that have influenced the election?" According to James Comey, Attorney General Loretta Lynch told him to call it a matter, the criminal investigation. Calling it a matter obviously impacted the election because you never had James Comey saying, this is a criminal investigation. The most he said is, Federal Bureau doesn't do security reviews. So, why is it okay for Democrats to interfere in elections? The Mueller probe went all through the midterms when they already knew they had nothing. They love investigating. When they're investigated, they impeach Trump. The whole thing is just this absurd game. It's so easy to see the duplicity and disingenuous nature. It's not difficult at all. It's not difficult at all. There's nothing difficult here. The duplicity is overt. It's on full display. They're hypocrites. They're the definition of hypocrites. They demand a certain standard of behavior when it's leveled at them. They demand you never investigate them before an election. They demand that, foreign interference should never be allowed except they purchase a dossier. with help compiled from Russian sources. And then you have DNC officials who reached out to the Ukraine, according to John Solomon. I mean, they project everything that they're guilty of. They project onto Trump. And I would love for Governor Cuomo of New York, or Madam Secretary pertaining to her servers, or the New York governor pertaining to the pandemic and his wonderful handling of the pandemic, where he has by far the most people who, God bless the people of New York. I don't know how Democrats get away with being the epicenter of the pandemic in New York, a political machine run by Democrats. And where's Jonathan Swan of Axios? Where's Jonathan Swan of Axios? Belligerent, in your face, against the New York governor. How come he never gets questioned on why he sent older people who were infected into old age homes? How come he never gets questioned as to why he stated that the risk remains low for the people of New York in a tweet on March 1st? There's no need for undue anxiety. Thor Gustafsson! How does Biden tell the difference between... Oh, yes! Thor Gustafsson, hello. You know what's funny? It's funny. Normally, I would almost think twice about like the statement, but I think that the interesting thing is those words, fly below the radar in a very funny way. I hope of the algorithm. Thor Gustafsson, thank you, Thor. So you have this letter I'm reading. Thor Gustafsson, thank you. You have this letter I'm reading. And it gives you everything you need to know. I strongly urge you to follow this policy and not issue any report or bring any indictments resulting from your investigation in these closing weeks of the 2020 presidential election. Why? Do you think indictments of people like Comey or Strzok or McCabe or Clapper or Brennan or anyone involved, Kleinsmith, Sally Yates, the lovely, the great friend of Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, you think that would influence? How would it influence the election? You mean people would not want to vote Democrat, knowing that that President Obama's administration possibly broke the law, that there was enough evidence to show that a great many people conspired, breaking U.S. Code 18 U.S. Code 371, utilizing agencies against their stated purpose, which is what they tried to level against Trump, which is hilarious because it actually pertains more to them. I wrote about that in the Federalist. So I strongly urge you to follow this policy. The policy was not followed in 2016. James Comey himself said the Attorney General told him to call it a matter. So are you calling James Comey a liar? Did he commit perjury? Somebody committed perjury. Who committed perjury? Was it the Attorney General Loretta Lynch, or was it James Comey? Who's telling the truth regarding Comey being told to call it a matter and not a criminal probe? Any public action by the Justice Department in this pre-election period that is associated with your investigation, which by its very nature involves actions taken during the Obama-Biden administration, is bound to be used by President Trump for partisan political purposes to promote his re-election efforts against Vice President Biden. Well, what do you think the Southern District is doing? So the Southern District can devote its entire existence to taking down Trump 3 months before the election, and that's okay? The Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times can write headlines that are apoplectic, and that's okay? Anti-Trump hysteria in the media, that's okay? I want to know where the fair play is. Like, is it all right for Is it all right for it was okay for the Mueller probe to continue before the midterms? That didn't influence them? Of course it did. It was all right for, it's just unbelievable. It's all right to impeach Trump based on an investigation warranted because Biden himself stated you're not going to get $1 billion in loan guarantees if you don't fire somebody. And who gave him the authority to do that? He had no authority. Did President Obama know? Who gave Biden the authority to fire another country's prosecutor, top prosecutor? He has no authority to do so as vice president. Congress wasn't informed. So, and then you have coincidentally his son on the board of directors. Then the rebuttal is, there was a Ukrainian prosecutor didn't find anything. Well, President Zelensky literally stated there was no quid pro quo, no political leverage, and he wasn't pressured at all. So you trust a prosecutor who no longer works in the government to say that Hunter did nothing wrong, but you don't trust President Zelensky, who basically say you should never have impeached Trump on the completely lame notion that he withheld military assistance because he was trying to interfere in the election? Trump withheld military assistance to interfere in the election. Facebook ads interfered in the election. Durham probes interfering in the election. The DNC emails interfered in the election. How about you stink? I was going to say something else. How about you're horrible? How about you're probably the worst political party of all time? Democrats are terrible. They have every single possible advantage from social media. You can't say anything without being kicked off social media if it favors Trump. And that's why I don't have, when I was like suspended because I was going, I told someone off who wrote his like 10th hit piece on me for a publication that no longer exists. And they suspended me. I'm like, wait a second. I'm being suspended for this. Plus I got a death threat on Twitter. So I deleted the account. And then I deleted Facebook. And I'm like, this was 2 years ago. My channel has done better. I have another channel that's doing great. Everything is so much better now. That when you're not on social media, life is better. I don't waste any time. I can just focus on this channel, H.A. Goodman's other channel. I was starting a third channel. I have my newsletter coming out very soon, and because I'm redoing my website. So a lot of great things. You don't need social media in this day and age. People think that you do, but it's like a complete waste of time. So then you in testifying during his Senate confirmation hearings, Mr. Barr was asked whether there are, quote, policies in place that try to insulate the investigations and the decisions of the Department of Justice and FBI from getting involved in elections. Barr said yes and explained that the party in power has, quote, their hands on the levers of the law enforcement apparatus of the country, and you do not want it used against the opposing political party. But that is precisely what would occur here if a report is issued on your investigation of the Russia investigation, or if indictments are brought at this critical stage of the presidential election. The Mueller probe kept going past the midterms, and so that influenced the midterms, but still it was like 105 years since a president actually gained seats in the Senate, so there wasn't the blue wave that they said would happen, and he lost less seats in the House than either President Obama or Clinton or Bush during his first term, but you look, during either President Obama or Clinton, but then you look now, and the Southern District of New York is going after Deutsche Bank, or what are they going at? They're still going after, possible loans that he got. Well, why isn't this letter being sent to the Southern District of New York? Why is it that you can always investigate Trump, but God forbid he investigates anyone who literally set him up? And they're investigating, like they usually do, the possibility of criminal behavior. There's nothing like Whitewater, or there's no failed business. Like, there's no business that went bankrupt where people lost money and Trump was a part of this. They're actually going into, well, why did Deutsche Bank give him loans? Well, that's an issue with Deutsche Bank. That's not an issue with the Southern District. If Deutsche Bank wants to give him loans, that's their business. But here, Barr said yes and explained the party in power has, but that is precisely what would occur if a report is issued on your investigation of the Russia investigation. So they're petrified that indictments take place prior to the election. They're petrified. Mr. Falcon Lab, when Biden picks a running mate, will their duties involve? Mr. Falcon Lab. You know what? Their duties will primarily involve making Madam Secretary look fantastic, because anybody that he picks is going to be Madam Secretary's. Anybody that he picks is going to be Madam Secretary's vice president. There's no way, because the thing with Biden is that if you stand near Biden. Like, Mike Pence still looks like Mike Pence. He still looks okay. He's fine with Trump. They look at President Trump like this big monster, this big ogre. He's not. He has a lot of orange makeup, but other than that, it's just like he looks like Trump. Trump is a brand, a cultural, American icon. They can say, no, he's not. No, he's not. Yes, he is. All those wonderful liberals who oppose Trump, they watch The Apprentice. They would have embraced his rear end, like, in public. Those wonderful liberals who go up against Trump now, they would have embraced his rear end in public if this was 10 years ago. And they watch The Apprentice, and they, go to his hotels, and, So I think, like, they even lived in Trump Tower. All the wonderful liberals who, like, tried to make their names for themselves. Hollywood he was on all the talk shows. So Biden, Mr. Falcon Limb, Biden, Mike Pence, old school dad man, life is better with HA. Thanks, brother. Old school dad man, thank you very much. Old school dad man, you are awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, old school dad man. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. Mark Morth. Rumor has it Biden consulted with Elon Musk about utilizing artificial intelligence. Joe made debate after. Mark Morth. I don't know if there's an AI robot that can get Biden's thought process going. I mean that would take years of computing. But Mark Morth, thank you so much. But no, I mean, like, my point regarding the vice president is, it's obviously going to be Clinton's vice president, because there's no way that you can put somebody next to. So you put a woman next to Biden, whomever is chosen. It's not, there's no way, whoever is chosen, there's no way that they're going to look good next to the exhumed body of the former vice president that is alive and ticking. You can't stand next to Tales from the Crypt. Mark Moore, thank you. And then look good. So it makes no sense. Now, Clinton and Kamala Harris, that looks like a viable ticket. Biden and Kamala Harris doesn't make any sense, because Kamala Harris basically called him a racist. So that makes no sense. So exactly, cyborg Biden. But here, obviously, there's no reason Okay, you should not permit your long and distinguished career in the Justice Department to be permanently tainted. Again, this is hilarious. Or your personal integrity to be irreparably impugned by what would plainly be an effort to use your investigation to influence or affect the 2020 presidential election. The rule of... I'll use the Democratic Party tactic to refute this. The rule of law states that no matter what time, no matter what moment in time, indictments should be handed down. The rule of law states that if you've committed a crime, just like any American, you should face the consequences, especially if it's a serious, serious crime. I'm not just talking about, this is a nonviolent crime, but I make a distinction between violent and nonviolent crimes. I don't think violent criminals should be let out for any reason. For any reason. Nonviolent criminals, yeah, should be let out. Tim Pool did an amazing segment today on a horrible, horrible, horrible outcome of a violent criminal being let out because of the pandemic. Don't think that should happen. Nonviolent crimes, yeah, they should be treated completely different. Let them out. Pandemic, all these things, but this is a difference. This is trying to actually utilize the intelligence community as an extension of a political party. Notice in this message imploring, imploring the good faith of John Durham. What's lost here is the possible crime, which is utilizing the most powerful apparatus, legal apparatus we have in this country to go up against an incoming president and try to remove him from office, despite this person being a duly elected president. So you have a duly elected president, won the Electoral College, and then you have unelected officials trying to reverse the decision made by the American people. Sorry, that's a really serious, that is really the future of the future of our democracy is at stake if we allow this to happen, because then President Trump could do the same thing to an incoming Democratic candidate. Of course, they would never allow that because they're the biggest hypocrites on the planet. They would never allow that. But then you hear like the hubris and the arrogance and the narcissism here, like the notion that John Durham's distinguished career would be tainted, permanently tainted, or his personal integrity would be irreparably impugned. Why would Durham? There are about 63 million people who think that Durham's and William Barr's integrity would be irreparably impugned if people weren't indicted. Notice how Democrats make it all about them. Oh, well, the history of the world, civilization itself. In fact, reality as we know it throughout the universe is predicated upon our chances to win an election. You wouldn't want life forms in other solar systems and galaxies to suffer, would you? Like, don't worry. Trust me. Everyone will be fine. Obviously, there is no reason for either a report to be issued or criminal indictments to be brought before the election other than to influence that election, or because they actually did commit crimes. The interesting thing here is, like, if you truly believe that the American people are convinced that Comey is honest, that would actually help Democrats, because the American people would say, oh my God, Trump is going after his political rivals. But most people understand, yeah, Trump was probably set up and framed. Even people who aren't into this, even people who don't even find this interesting, know that Trump was almost certainly set up and framed. The Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton and the DNC, so this is public record. They don't They don't even address the most glaring issues. They don't even address this. So obviously there's no reason for either a report to be issued. Not just indictments, a report. You can't even have an initial report. Because it might help Trump. Well, so what? If they committed crimes, obviously these potential crimes would have helped Trump. I mean, obviously the knowledge of these crimes would help Trump, just like the knowledge that Bernie Sanders was cheated and Debbie Wasserman Schultz being forced to resign helped Trump because the massive corruption within the Democratic Party is obviously repulsive. So what do you expect? Not only do they not want any indictments, they don't want anyone to know how corrupt they were. Because that would influence the election, because naturally people don't vote for corrupt politicians or corrupt political parties. So I mean, it's like you can't. I mean, they want everything airtight. They want everything. They want reality to bend. They want the world to just stop. The Earth to just stop the rotation. Stop rotating. And want everything to just be frozen in time, because God forbid their criminal conduct or their potential corruption could interfere in the election, because obviously people don't like corrupt politicians. If the conclusion is reached by you or others at the Justice Department that a report on your investigation should be issued, or that criminal indictments are warranted, these actions should be deferred until after the 2020 presidential election. That's fine with me too, actually, because Trump's going to win, and it'll even be better. Again, that doesn't really show a lot of confidence in the initial probe. Rand, I know. Thank you. Climb BMX. Last year ended my 7th sabbatical year. Now I have ended my Jubilee year. I'm getting fat. Climb BMX. Well, enjoy. Climb BMX. Thank you as always for watching. Mark, hello. Thank you as always for watching. Climb BMX. Last year ended my 7th sabbatical year. Now I'm getting Jubilee year. Getting fat. Climb BMX. God bless you. Climb BMX. Thank you so very, very much, as always, for watching Climb BMX. Thank you. So then you have the department's long-established non-interference policy. What do you mean long-established? Was that also when Attorney General Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton in a plane on a tarmac in Arizona that the media did not want to touch with a 20 million foot pole? How is that non-interference? The Attorney General met with Bill Clinton. Oh my goodness. I mean, this is an example of non-interference and complete objectivity. And I want to thank you, Attorney General, for meeting with me to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren. And I can assure you that nothing was said that had anything to do with my wife's brunch with Peter Strzok, because though they had a great time, it was wonderful. Everything was done above board. Don't you love this? They're like, as you can see, William Barr, the Justice Department has been completely unbiased. You wouldn't want to tarnish a date. The long-standing impartiality of the Justice Department. Barr and Durham. It's like, do they not see how amusing and how hilarious? Climb BMX, everyone here, do they not? Hello, Isaac. Do they not see how obvious everything is? I mean, this is hilarious. This would be like a man in his own bedroom with two other women, No clothes on. None of them have clothes on. And his wife walks in. And then the wife's, what are you doing? And this is a Democrat. And it would be like, oh, honey. How dare you not trust me? You close that door right now. And apologize to these ladies. We were doing nothing that wasn't above board. How dare you not trust me? It's like, at a certain point, you just have to pretend. You have to stop pretending that you're this righteous individual, or that you're this, distinguished and, pure and lofty political party that runs on these ideals. The Democratic Party has no ideals. That's why they cheated Bernie Sanders and blamed Russia for 3 years. That's why they blamed Russia for the world finding out that they cheated Bernie Sanders. But here, the department's long-standing interference policy is intended to provide the American people credible assurance that the department is not being misused for partisan political purposes, like President Obama used the DOJ. And then that DOJ is carrying out its core mission to ensure fair and impartial administration of justice for all Americans. And that's why Attorney General Loretta Lynch told James Comey to call it a matter and not a criminal probe of Clinton's campaign. Of course, we don't know who's telling the truth, so one of them committed perjury. This policy is most critical in the middle of a presidential election and has long been spelled out in the department policy positions. So what? It's a department policy. Madam Secretary broke guidelines and department policies utilizing servers. Nobody cared. Then it goes on to Bush administration department policies. The long-standing Justice Department policy of interference in electoral matters as set forth in the Mukasey, Lynch, and Holder memoranda. Holder? He was held in contempt of Congress. Is intended to prevent the reality or appearance of the Justice Department's investigative and prosecutorial powers being misused to influence or affect an election. Why would it affect an election if indeed the Justice Department is being used in a sinister manner? That would hurt Trump, because everyone would say, my God, we really believe Comey. We really believe Brennan and Clapper. Oh my God, we really believe Strzok. How dare they impugn the integrity of these wonderful people who are trying to protect the country from Facebook ads. Robin! Thanks, right on the money as usual. Robin Loggy, thank you. Robin, thank you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. Robin Loggy, thank you. So, any public release of your report, this is hilarious. Any public release of your report in the current closing stage of the presidential election, or any indictments issued during this period as a result of your investigation, clearly will become major campaign issues and will have political consequences. Why? Wouldn't the American people side with wouldn't the American people side with the investigators who try to protect us from Russian Facebook ads? The long-standing department policy to avoid such politicization of the department's work compels you, the Lord compels you not to indict Comey. The long-standing department policy to avoid such politicization of the department work compels you to prevent this from happening. You will not indict James Clapper. The Lord compels you. Okay, so if your investigation is not complete, if your investigation is not complete, you should not complete it until after the. Oh, here we go again. How many times? How many times can Robin Lucky, thank you. How many times can this op-ed? How many times can this op-ed say you must indict after the election? This is hilarious. If your investigation is not complete, you should not. If your investigation is not complete, you should not complete it until after the election. If the report is complete, you should publicly oppose any release of your report before the election. They're like petrified because they know what's up. The same holds true regarding any indictments made in the closing weeks of the election. Yeah, just like James Comey with his letter right before the election because it was a failed cover-up. People think Comey's letter was. No, it wasn't an example of impartiality. It was an example of a failed cover-up. And he was also saying, oh, yeah, you know what? You let me go, Madam Secretary. We got the goods on you. That's why when Trump, he's like, yeah, you're fired. Oh, my God. The roof caved in. And I have no clue. Like, Steve Bannon was like, oh, yeah, he shouldn't have done that. Why? He should keep somebody like Comey there? And that's one of the great things about Trump. He does this. He does things. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the establishment, the political establishment. So he just does what he thinks is right. He doesn't care. You would have presidents in his position who would like cower to Comey. Trump's like, yeah, you're fired. You try to set me up. It's ridiculous. General D! HA, you know it, and we know just how corrupt Hillary dementia is common knowledge and will cost them the election. Exactly. General D, thank you. General D, thank you. General D, thank you very, very, very much. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. So, General D goes on. Attorney General Barr was widely criticized, including by a federal judge, for mischaracterizing the findings of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's in the report in the period before it was released to the public. Okay, so he didn't miscategorize anything. That's their opinion. This is not a fact. If anything, he was far too generous. He stated that the entire reason for the investigation, Russian collusion, was not found. They did not find any American. Nobody was ever indicted for conspiring alongside any Russian individual. Not the Trump Jr. meeting, nothing. Nothing. Nobody was indicted on the Steele dossier because it was made up. This is obvious. This is obvious. And so they never, by the way, not only did he characterize the findings correctly, but nothing in the Mueller report. Nothing in the Mueller report. Nothing in the Mueller report was utilized to impeach President Trump. Why? Why? Why wasn't the Mueller report utilized to impeach President Trump? Why wasn't any of the Steele dossier or the Mueller report or anything pertaining to Russian interference, why wasn't it utilized to impeach the president? Why were two allegations that have nothing to do with legal statutes utilized to impeach the president? The reason is because they have nothing. They have nothing. They never had anything. With Democratic investigations, whether it's Clinton, either Clinton, they find a lot, activity linked to their behavior. Madam Secretary used a server. Bill Clinton was in the Oval Office. Oh my goodness, they were so unfair to me. So he did what he did in the Oval Office. Madam Secretary utilized servers with top secret intel on them outside of the United States government. We don't know how the data was transferred. These things took place. Then investigations happened because they shouldn't have taken place. And in Bill Clinton's case, It wasn't what happened in the Oval Office. It was the cover-up. I did tell the truth, though. I said, what is. They asked me, they said, are you having any relations? I said, there is no relationship. Get it? Is right now. I'm using Einstein's theory of relativity and Newtonian physics, and says space and time. What is taking place right now? So, do I lie? No. There's no relationship right this second. He lied under oath that he was impeached on perjury. He lied under oath because he didn't want to tell people what actually happened in the Oval Office. Trump never worked with Russia, ever, not once. He never purchased a Facebook ad, not once. He never got bodily fluids thrown on him or discharged on him or whatever. Not once. It never happened. They said it could happen, then they investigated what they made up, the fantasy, and then they said, oh, well, that could happen. So, then they say, oh, well, he mischaracterized the Mueller report. No, he didn't. The Mueller probe was about finding out whether or not he colluded with Russia. Nobody did collude with Russia. It was an epic fail. It was a big L, the biggest loss of all time. Ken Starr actually found a whole bunch of stuff, and they impeached Bill Clinton on crimes, perjury, and obstruction of justice, 2 criminal statutes. They did not impeach Trump on any crime. That's why they're just full of hot air and Bandini, and they have nothing. So you have an obligation to take all possible steps to prevent your investigation from being similarly mischaracterized or misused for partisan political purposes and controversial Democratic Department's policy. The department's policy is not law. He can change the department's policy, and Congress could, censor him or whatever. So department's policies were torn apart by Madam Secretary, who used servers for 4 years, obviously to hide information, but of course it was for convenience and to delete yoga emails. And then Mueller's categorization of Barr's evaluation of the Mueller report was spot on. So again, the hubris is like, you better do this or else we're going to be very upset. As a prominent department official has been assigned an investigation of high political sensitivity, with all due respect, your professional reputation and personal integrity are on the line here. Oh, I'm sure he really cares what you think. I'm sure that John Durham really cares what Democratic-leaning people think. There is no ambiguity about the mandate that politics must play. Again, we go back to politics must play no role in the decision of federal investigators or prosecutors regarding any investigation of criminal charges. Politics must play no role? Then why did they disregard when Peter Strzok says, we'll stop Trump, and Trump should lose 1,000,000-0? There's no ambiguity about the fact that this policy was established to protect the integrity of the Justice Department and the integrity of our elections. Tell that to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Mr. Falcon Lamb! H.A., what's your opinion on the new mini rallies President Trump will be attempting? Won't this show Biden up while still being pandemic? Says, I think that anything Mr. Falcon that he does that shows enthusiasm will be horrible for Democrats. Absolutely horrible. I think that Biden will be replaced, hopefully sooner than later. But I think that would be actually great for President Trump. Kaylee Smith. Thank you, Mr. Falcon Limb. Thank you. Slickly looks better than I thought. Well, thank you. I figure that, you know what, that definitely is my color. Thank you so much. Kaylee Smith, I want to thank you so much. Mr. Falcon Limb, yes, it'll definitely help President Trump. And I think that anything that President Trump can do to highlight the enthusiasm, and President Trump needs to do better in explaining. He needs to do better in explaining his achievements, in communicating his achievements. He needs to do a lot better in that, because he has done achievements. Cat Pat Bob Anderson! There needs to be jail time for all these shows. Cat Pat Bob Anderson, thank you very much. I agree with you. First of all, thank you for your generosity, Cat Pat Bob Anderson. Thank you. I agree with you. I think that, first of all, Cat Pat Bob Anderson, thank you again. Greatly appreciated. And I think that Cat Pat Bob Anderson, after the election, you will see indictments. I think that you will see people who face, it won't be Madam Secretary. I've never, ever said Clinton would ever face jail time or prison time. I've never said that. I've stated, though, that indictments, even if Clinton were indicted, that she would get pardoned by President Trump. I've always stated that. But I think that there are going to be people. I think there are going to be people who set up and frame Trump, like Strzok and McCabe and all of those people, who will face serious John Durham consequences. And I think that indictments will take place after the election. Joshua Munn, I have to look into that. I definitely have to look into that. Cat Pat Bob Anderson, thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. And that all of that, I think, happens after the election. Jimbo! Trump concerned about being... Yeah, This is... We haven't even started the election, Jimbo. We haven't even started the election. I don't even think we've started the election. But I think that if anyone can go ahead and take on all of these, take on what? The media, intelligence community, all that. It's Trump. But, yeah, it's just bizarre. Jimbo, thank you. Cat Pat Bob Anderson, I think that's, a lot of this is going to be, Cat Pat Bob Anderson, I think a lot of it is going to be done after the election. I just think that the media will turn on the Democratic Party, and they're going to lose again. And it ain't going to be with Biden. It's going to be with Hillary Clinton. It ain't going to be with Biden. It'll be with Hillary Clinton. So I urge you to comply. Oh my God Almighty! I urge you to comply with the department's longstanding policy. Here we go again. They have 25 times longstanding policy. To ensure the findings or investigation not used to affect or influence the 2020 presidential election. New York Times influences the election. Washington Post influences the election. CNN, MSNBC, they all influence the election. Hollywood influences the election. Robert De Niro, all these people influence the election. They're all the Southern District of New York, the state of New York, all influence the election. So everyone can influence the election, but Trump, God forbid, anything that is linked to Democratic Party corruption cannot influence the election. Okay, good. In the event that decisions are issuing, the Mueller probe could go past the midterms, and the Southern District can investigate Trump right before the election, and that's not interference. Great, very good. In the event that decisions are issuing a report or bringing criminal indictments, in the event that decisions about issuing a report or bringing criminal indictments are made at higher levels So this article, or this letter to Durham and Cat Pat Bob Anderson, thank you. All you have to look, Cat Pat Bob Anderson, everyone here, thank you again for your generosity. Cat Pat Bob Anderson, thank you. In the event that these decisions about issuing a report or bringing criminal indictments are made at higher levels of Justice Department, you should promptly withdraw your name and publicly disassociate yourself from such actions. Oh my God. What? This is Million Barr's reaction. I will do so when the sun don't shine. And this is, I will abide by all of your recommendations. If pigs fly in the deepest corners of Dante's Inferno, there's not a snowman's chance in Dante's Inferno that I would abide by any of these recommendations. But I do appreciate your concern for my integrity and how posterity will look at my good name. It would abandon your own professional duty and responsibility in this matter to allow superiors to direct you to take action and contravene the department policy. Again with the department policy, designed to protect the integrity of the Justice Department and electoral process. Nor should you defer any implausible, narrow, or strange interpretations of the policy that might be made by the Attorney General's office. This is the best. I strongly urge you to participate in and disassociate yourself from any announcement, report, release, issuance of indictments, or other public statements or actions prior to the 2020 presidential election. It's unbelievable. Cat Pat Bob Anderson. Oh my God. Court, kill, go. To date, the only Biden shirt I have seen is yours. Yes. I have yet to see any stickers or hats or signs, nothing. He can't possibly be running. He isn't. It's going to be Hillary Clinton. Court, kill, go. Thank you. It's going to be Hillary Clinton. So this is a really wonderful article by a very esteemed and just a wonderful human being. And Justice and Fred, Just Security is just a wonderful, wonderful publication. This letter to John Durham is, sorry, I don't even know what John Durham sounds like, but I was doing William Barr. For a second, I thought it was written to William Barr towards the end of when I was reading it. But I have nothing but respect and admiration for the very noble and wonderful person who wrote this, and to justsecurity.org, a truly fantastic and great publication. And anything that I've said has simply been, not directed at the person writing the article or justsecurity.org, but simply as a critique of the notion that John Durham should remove himself and take a space force shuttle and launch himself into outer space, as opposed to indicting people like Comey. But again, only love and respect to the person who wrote this letter, and to justsecurity.org. Peace and love, 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 peace and love. Court, kill, go. Thank you. I agree with you. Court, kill, go. I agree with you. Cat Bob Anderson. Thank you again. Pete Solano. HA, can you imagine Biden doing his campaign for crazy? I think that's pretty much what's taken place. Richie, hello. I think it's pretty much what's taken place. Pete Solano. Thank you. Cat Bob Anderson, hello. And thank you again. Thank you very, very much. It's just unbelievable. It's kind of like, Pete Solano, thank you. It's kind of unbelievable that You have a you have a world where there's not one person, there's not one politician on this planet. Pete Solano and Cat Pat Bob Anderson, thank you again. There's not one person on this planet, certainly not one politician, that could withstand the type of petulant, belligerent, combative grilling and interrogation that media engages in at levels towards President Trump. And this is how when they say Trump isn't presidential, he's never been given a reason. He's never been given a chance to be presidential. They never ask him. They never ask New York's governor why New York is the epicenter of all of this. How his policies have led to lives lost and suffering. They never ask President Trump what we had. They never There's never been an interview with Trump. Oh, how did it feel, President Trump, when you became the first president to step foot in North Korea? What was going on in your mind, President Trump? How did you come to this? This is what presidents are asked all the time. They're given these not just public relations interviews, but they're given interviews like, how do you feel? How did you feel about, please give us your thoughts on record low unemployment, President Trump, because it's a really great thing. You signed the First Step Act, President Trump. That's going to help a lot of people who are unjustly incarcerated or, treated unfairly or, Oh, Cat Papa Bob. Oh, it is? Oh, it is. Cat Papa Bob Anderson. I mean, there's something wrong with my eyesight because I'm like, I keep on saying, I keep on reading it as Cat Pap and Bob Anderson. But it's really Cat Papa Bob Anderson. Cat Papa Bob Anderson! D. Velasquez, thank you. It's Cat Papa. So, D. Velasquez, thank you. Jimbo! Trump's concerned about, yeah. Jimbo, thank you. God forbid. In Hebrew, the phrase is chas v'shalom. It's a Jewish for God forbid. But the society never gave him a moment where he could, in 4 years, talk about his numerous achievements. Whether it's being the first president to step foot in North Korea, how did you feel about that? What is it about your foreign policy? Like, who are the diplomats that, helped you come to this conclusion, Mr. President? Have you even heard them say Mr. President? When was the last time you heard a journalist say Mr. President in a manner that wasn't combative? Mr. President, sir. Mr. President, sir. Like, they've never treated President Obama like that. Never. In the beginning, President Obama had to deal with issues, that's true, but not from the mainstream press, maybe Fox News. But Bush was treated with the utmost respect. Dan Rather was fired for reporting on a story that wasn't true. There have been like 30 stories that were patently false about Trump and whether he worked with Russia. Nothing happened to these people. They've never given, like, when people say, well, I don't like his personality, but, they've never given him a chance to actually, he's very personable. There was actually an interview recently with the Barstool Sports guy. What's his name? Barstool. Sports. There was an article. I mean, there was a there was an article, or there was an interview that oh Lord, his name is the Portnoy. Okay, so David Portnoy. Dave Portnoy. So there was an article with him. There was an interview with him. Him interviewing. President Trump, where, like, it was like Trump was personable. Dave Portnoy was, respectful, and it was just this amiable kind of, this normal relation, like this like respectful like interview that you would get normally from a journalist and a president prior to Trump. And Trump acted presidential. He acted, he had a great demeanor. He was funny. He was personable, amiable. But you don't get that. You get, Jonathan Swan of Axios. Oh, Mr. President, percentage of population. Well, what about percentage of cases? Why can't you use that? More people are recovering than any other country. Percentage of population. Yeah, well, 5 Democratic-run states 5 to 7 account for around half or over half of the lives lost. So that's why percentage of population is very difficult to discuss when you have like huge metropolitan areas in the Northeast that are run by Democratic machines that were completely blindsided by the pandemic. Court Kilgo! Should Google and watch Robin Williams doing stand-up 2009 making fun of Biden and his mental. You know what? I'm going to do that. They're not. This is the thing. No, now I should. I really should. You're right. Court Kilgo. This is the thing. This is the thing. If you look, ladies and gentlemen, just please, the algorithm is going to be even more intense. So please make sure, from now to way past the election, algorithm is going to be even more intense. Court Kilgo, they're not going with Biden. They ain't going with Biden. I don't know when it's going to happen. It should be at the convention. But going under Trump bizarrely suggests he may not be seen for a while because he has rich enemies who are very unhappy with him. I have a lot of enemies out there. Wow. That is frightening. So I have to actually look that up. I have a lot of enemies. This may be the last time you see me for a while. That's also him basically saying, I'm just going to wait until the cover is pulled. Wow. I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you see me for a while. Wow. God bless him. He gives them fits. He gives them fits, ladies and gentlemen. He gives them absolute fits. And they don't know what to do. It's really interesting. I don't even really. I don't know what that. I don't even know what that would mean. I have no clue what that would mean. I just have no clue what that would mean. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Cat Papa Bob Anderson. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly now. Thank you so much. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel, ladies and gentlemen, right now. I'm going to do a segment on that and do a little bit more research and try to find out what's going on. To my super chat, thank you very, 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 very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this. We haven't started this election yet. We have not started this election yet at all. This election has not started yet. It will start when Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton, who is the best candidate they have. Clinton is the best candidate the Democrats have, by far, which should tell you something about the Democratic Party. And she could win. If President Trump falls for any traps, she could win. And she'll become the first female president. Trump will defeat Clinton again. I don't see that happening. But I will have made the biggest political call of all time, people. Court Kilgo! You should play it now. I think the viewers like it. It's a quick 30-second clip. There's a big issue now. I don't think that content creators can even, Court Kilgo can even play any clip without possibly the live stream being demonetized. So I'd be playing like a million clips right now of Clinton, because every time I play a clip of Trump or Clinton, it's like an issue. So I'm going to do that on H.A. Goodman's other channel. And for some reason, the live stream is very bizarre. So that's the honest truth as to what's going on there. Court Kilgo, thank you. Southern Miss. Mississippi's being called a hard start. Stepped up. Said 62% were terminal, 70 plus. I feel they're trying to suppress the vote. We need a red state. We're a red state. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we'll look back at this time period. Common sense is still prevalent. People know. I mean, Mark Twain, gave us great quotes on statistics. There are lies that are even worse, and then statistics. Southern Miss, thank you so very much. Court Kilgo, I am going to do a segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless. To my super chat, thank you. People, thank you so very much. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right this second. To my super chat, thank you again. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin. Gentlemen, thank you very, very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you tomorrow. Climb BMX, everyone here. Southern Miss, Court Kilgo, Cat Papa Bob Anderson, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we haven't started the election. We will when the great and all-powerful and just wonderful Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton enters and becomes the nominee, because she's the only chance Democrats have. I'm not a fan, but I can tell you, and I will have made the biggest political call of all time. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you in about 10 minutes on H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Thank you.